Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Society of Thoracic Surgeons General Thoracic Surgery Database monthly webinar for Wednesday, February the 10th, 2021. Thank you all for joining today. On our agenda today, we have our standard agenda, our welcome and introductions. I'll give a brief STS update, then turn things over to IQVIA for their update, and then we'll turn things over to you all for user feedback. Please be sure to include your ticket number or case number. Also put your questions, if you can, utilize the Q&A function for your questions. Since the since our user group calls are currently being utilized for upgrade webinars, I'm going to turn things over to you guys today to allow the opportunity for any data harvest questions, data quality report questions, any type of questions like that you have for IQVIA or STS. We'll tackle those at the end today. So again, please feel free to utilize that Q&A function to get your questions in, and we are happy to get those answered for you. On the call today from STS, we have myself, we have Carol Crone, we have Jane Hahn, Addie Dolan. From the IQVIA side, we have Joe, Melanie, Jean, Melanie, and Jean, it looks like for today. And then from our core group, we have Katie and Melissa representing from our core group today. So thank you everyone for joining today. First, I'm just going to go over some important dates that we have coming up for general thoracic. Let's see, for our spring and fall 2020 analysis results, those will be available late winter, early spring. We are still working on that. So we do appreciate your patience. As I stated on the last call, obviously it's not ideal to continue to not have these results out yet, but we are working on that, and it will be available as soon as possible. More information will be coming soon. So again, thank you for your patience. And again, please know that once this initial reporting phase is out for our future harvest, for the spring 2021 harvest, we are not expecting this type of delay moving forward. So again, we do know it's not ideal, and we do appreciate your patience. Today we have obviously the monthly webinar for today. Our next upgrade webinar is scheduled for February the 24th at 2:30 Central, 3:30 Eastern. Also, speaking of the 2021 harvest, we have our spring 2021 harvest close is scheduled for March the 5th. Our last day to opt out of that spring 2021 harvest is Tuesday, March the 9th. We also have our March monthly webinar is scheduled for March the 10th at 1:30 Central. And then obviously we have summer 2021 listed for our spring harvest analysis results. I wanted to give a quick data version 5.21 update. Same as I gave an update on our last call. Obviously the go live is scheduled for July 1, 2021. The data specifications, as you're all aware, were sent to vendors in December. Our upgrade webinars did begin last week on January 27th. We had our first call. Thanks to Carol for walking through the data collection form. She does an amazing job. So we do encourage all of our data managers and staff abstracting to attend those webinars. If you are not able to attend, all of the upgrade webinars are recorded and are posted and will be posted out on the STS website, excuse me, on our webinars page. And we did get up to the operative section on the last call. So next week we will be tackling, on our next webinar call, we will be tackling the operative section. So again, we do encourage you to attend. The 5.21 data collection form has been posted out on the STS website. As we indicated, this is a near final draft version. So as we stated, if you see something that needs to be corrected, anything in regards to typos or anything that really doesn't, that stands out that you think needs to be corrected, just shoot me an email and we will get that corrected. And again, we are waiting before we do make that completely final, we are waiting to get any type of feedback, see if there's any feedback from the vendors that in regards to anything that may need to be addressed or corrected prior to marking that as final. And of course, just letting you know that obviously that we had talked about before, we are creating those on-safe checks to be implemented into your software. And also the training manual development is underway. And again, we are revamping the current format because we are aware that the current format is very non-data manager user friendly. So we are working and we'll be improving that. We're making that similar to the adult cardiac version of the training manual. So of course, if you have any suggestions, please feel free to send those directly to me via email at ljones@sts.org. Over this week, actually, I have gotten a couple of questions from data managers asking what does it mean to opt out of the harvest. So I just wanted to cover that really quick with you all. So what does it mean to opt out of a harvest? So in the past, when the data warehousing was at DCRI, opting out meant you chose to not have your data submitted during a given harvest period included in the analysis. So this meant if you chose not to have your data files that you submitted included in the analysis, you would not receive a PDF report. Your historical data was included in the overall analysis data set for STS benchmarking purposes. However, you did not receive any star ratings and you were not able to see or have access to the STS benchmarks. Versus, what does it mean to opt out of a harvest today? Opting out, it means the same thing. So you are choosing to not have your data submitted. You choose to not have your data submitted during a given harvest period included in the analysis set. And again, the same as in the past, your historical data is included in the overall analysis data set for STS benchmark and risk adjusted purposes. You will not receive star ratings. Since we have moved to the dashboard, this will show as null on the risk adjusted dashboard. The big difference between now versus in the past, you will have access to the STS benchmarks within the benchmark dashboard. When you are looking at the benchmark dashboard, your MySite numbers will comprise of any data that you have previously submitted that encompasses that 3-year analytic period. And then obviously the STS national benchmark numbers include the current 3-year analytic period. Also, I just wanted to take a second to point out, I'm not sure if many of you are aware, but I just wanted to give a quick plug regarding the STS patient website. I do have a link out here for the STS patient website, and just wanted to, make you all aware that the STS patient website is a valuable resource for you all. It offers immediate and easy access to expert content on cardiothoracic diseases as well as operations. And if you interact with your patients at your institution, we would like you to please share this valuable resource with your patients. For example, I just wanted to give you an example of the gastroesophageal reflux disease page. This is just a screenshot from our website. It provides detailed information on causes and symptoms, diagnosis, treatment options, information on what to expect before and after surgery. You can also download handouts to give to your patients. And also, if you have any questions about the STS patient website, if you have any feedback, things you would like to see that you don't currently see out there, our STS patient website contact is Jennifer Bagley, and she can be reached at the email address below, jbagley@sts.org. So we do encourage you to check out our STS patient website and encourage you to share that information with your staff and with your patients. So again, just please go check it out. And if you have any questions, just reach out to Jennifer Bagley and she can assist you with any information regarding the STS patient website. That is all that I have in regards to the general thoracic STS updates. Next, I'm just going to turn things over to Joe for a quick update.
All right, great. Thanks, Leanne. Good afternoon, everyone. Just one update from us actually today. It's something coming this weekend, February 13th. We are updating STS 5554. We are updating the validation severity on certain error messages from standard errors to critical errors. And you can see some examples on the slide there of the types of data elements that we're looking to upgrade. The purpose of this is to help ensure that we're not getting bad data into the database. So rejecting things like if the mortality date is after the current date, or the mortality date is before the discharge date, things like that. So those updates will go through this weekend, and once that goes through, you will begin seeing those when you submit files. If there are any of these conflicting or incorrect scenarios, those will come up as critical errors.
Great. Thank you, Joe.
That is it, aside from our usual reminders that if you did not see something you had mentioned today and you want an update, feel free to reach out to us. Otherwise, we are looking into further items to release later this month.
Great, thank you. I appreciate it. Next, again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these. You guys are familiar with these slides. This is the support plan, and again, just our usual plea to please include your 5-digit participant ID number with your communications with STS in the IQVIA. Again, just a list of resources that are available to you out on the STS website, as well as the IQVIA contact information, my contact information, and then again, just provided the dates for upcoming webinars. Our next upgrade webinar is February 24th at 2:30 Central, and our next monthly webinar is March 10th at 1:30 Central. And that's all that I have. I know Carol, I think, wanted to touch on discussing the training manual updates that are coming soon. So I don't know, Carol, if you wanted to touch on that rather quickly.
Sure, Leanne, thanks. Is it okay if I share my screen real quick?
Absolutely.
Okay, just so folks can kind of get an idea. Let me know when you can see it.
Okay. Yes, ma'am, I see it.
Okay. So I love Girl Scout cookies. That's my badge. I'm encouraging folks to support your local Girl Scout troops by ordering your cookies online. Okay. Sorry.
I love
First,
it.
First, I just want to say, so the process that we go through when for an upgrade is first we have to come up with the data specification changes, which was the whole upgrade process. It can take about a year. A lot of calls with surgeon leaders and core group members to go through changes that are going to go into effect for the new version. Then we take those changes, we put them in the DCF that is now posted, and we work with IQVIA on building the data specifications. The data specifications are built in an Access database, so the programming goes in there. Leanne and I worked on that. We had quite a few late nights going through that and making sure we had parent-child relationships correct. It's really a very it's the word I'm looking for. It's not the Access database is user friendly, but it's not the format that you're used to seeing. It's a totally different type of programming outside of this. But what comes out of that Access database are the data specs that are sent over to the vendor. So hold on one second. So those data specs, they look like they're posted. I think I'm not sure if we posted them yet online or not, but what they contain are, this is version 2.41. What they contain is the logic to the fields, and it gives you the low and high ranges, what kind of formatting's in the field, and the vendors use this to build the fields and the requirements that go into each of those fields. Once they use the data specs, we also then the next step in that process after we send the data specs out is we finalize the software specifications. And the software specifications this is 2.41. These are really the detailed instructions to the vendors on how fields need to act. So it gives you explanations. It talks about the relational database and how the tables must interact within the database. So it's really technical in those terms. So we just finished the software specifications and sent those over to the vendors. I think we sent them early this week. And if the vendors are on the line and you haven't received that, let me know, because I sent it over to Derek to send out to you all, but I may not have gotten to it yet. So the specs are, if they're not already at the vendors, the software specs, they will be. And so that's the second part of it. Then the next part, what comes along, and it all kind of is sequential, is the training manual build. The training manual uses the definition. So for the vendors, when we send the data specs to the vendors, we include definitions. In addition, then when we build the training manual, we have the definition in there, and then we add in some intent clarification. Definitions are kept rather vague. We don't get too in detail about the things that wouldn't apply to all sites or all cases. So it's just a very brief definition of what certain fields are. And I'm trying to find one that'll help you understand or help demonstrate what I'm talking about, but it will indicate that the patient's first name, and that's what you're going to enter. We might include some information about in the intent clarification if a patient decides not to provide you with that information or whatever it may be, on just a silly example, but we would provide that further clarity in the training manual. And that's the step we're on now, is the training manual. So what we're doing a little bit different for this version is we're including the harvest codes, which are the options that are going to be on the DCF. So for Social Security known, you'll see options yes, no, or patient refused. There's harvest codes associated with these. So if you were to hit the number 1, or when the vendors program this, yes equals a 1, no equals a 2, patient refused equals a 3. So some vendors allow you to just type the number in instead of typing yes, no, or patient refused, and you can just use those codes to do that. And then the other thing that we're providing is more information on the parent values. This way we're kind of combining what's in the data specs with the training manual, so you don't need to go into 2 spots to get the information when you're trying to abstract. So for example, you're looking and you're like, well, why can't I get to Social Security number? And again, this is a silly example, but you want to fill in the Social Security number. You can't figure out why it's grayed out on your vendor software. So you open the training manual and you realize that Social Security number known is the parent field, and that has to be answered yes. But for some reason you answered that no. So that's why it's grayed out. So you go back and you update your Social Security number known field to yes, and then the Social Security number field will open and you'll be able to enter the Social Security number. So that's an example of how the training manual will be updated, kind of upgraded from previous versions. We are going to, Leanne has worked through the demographic section, and then we're getting more into other more clinical information. So I'll be taking it over from here and updating the clinical intent clarifications. The way this process works is we have a lot of feedback in the current version, in the current training manual. So if we go to version 2.41, let's see if that will open for us. When we go to version 2.41, you see we have case examples. We'll still have those in there. But when we get down to some of the FAQs that were submitted in, maybe we had some areas where we had quite a few questions, and I'm sure it's going to take me a minute to find one because we don't usually get a lot of questions in the demographic section. But I'll review all of these FAQs that came in, update the intent clarification to incorporate those FAQs. And then also during the upgrade calls, we talked with the surgeons and core group members about things that might be helpful to include in addition to what's already in the training manual. So we'll be incorporating those suggestions as well. I'll work section by section on that, and then when I get a chunk complete, my pass is the first pass, but then I will we'll work with the core group members to review bit by bit, and I haven't talked to them about this yet, but since we're asking, and I know most are on the call, we'll have a separate call with the core group to go over in more detail. But the process will be that we'll ask the core group members to review the intent clarifications, get their feedback, make sure, if there's something more that they think will be helpful, or wording it a different way to be clear, more clear or clearer, we'll do that with them. And then we should have this. So I'll go through all of the sequence numbers. I'll take a chunk of it, send it to the core group, say, hey, please review this. Let me know. Let me and Leanne know if there's anything that can be helpful to this. And then we'll put those all together, and then hopefully we'll have a final version in May. So I hope that let me see if there's any questions on here. Hold on. Okay, so Carmen says she hasn't received the software specs for 5.21. So I'll make sure that Derek sends, there's a link out. They're actually posted in the OneDrive link that was previously sent out for the vendors. So it's under that same link, but I'll ask Derek to resend it because there was some more information in that email I wanted to share with you all. So I'll make sure he resends it. But I hope that was helpful. Any questions or good? Was that a fair explanation of the process, Leanne, since we're kind of leading it together?
Yes, I think that's perfect. Thank you.
Okay,
I
great.
know let's see, someone's got their hand raised, so it's been raised for, it's TBH. I'm sorry, I don't know what the name is. I just see initials TBH. So I'm gonna unmute them. I know they've had their hand raised for a little while, so I don't know if that was raised by mistake or not. You'll have to unmute yourself when you're in to talk. It's showing that you're still muted. So may have been an accidental hand raise. So let's see here. I know we have some questions coming in. I know some of these, and I know that some of these are clinical type questions. So also we do encourage you to please submit your questions via the FAQ, the clinical question submission form. I know there are quite a few questions sitting in there. The core group has our call this week. Actually, it's tomorrow. So if you are waiting to get your question answered, that is will be addressed tomorrow, and then I'll be getting responses back to you. And also the February version of the training manual is actually with marketing and will be posted today. So I apologize for the delay in that. Got a little crazy with annual meeting and just been catching up. So I apologize for that delay. Let's see here. I don't know if Melissa's answering the question from Margaret in regards to, I don't know, Melissa, I don't know if you want to answer it aloud with the group, or if I do know if you were type of response, the entire group can see that. Let's see here. Carol, I think we can handle this one. It's a COVID related question. Parent who has lung cancer resection tests positive for COVID after the lung resection while still in the hospital, was negative prior to resection. Is the entire case removed from the database because of positive COVID result, or is only the COVID pneumonia removed as a post-op event?
Sure, I can take that one, Leanne. And I stopped sharing. I don't know if you want to take.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Sharing over. No, it's okay. Just letting you know. So that's a great question. Any COVID positive patient, coded patients tested prior, during, or after hospital stay for the procedure will be removed from analysis.
Right. Okay. Let's see here. I know Mindy has a question. Patient who had wedge and rib resection, cancer was found in the rib, not the wedge. To abstract this. I don't know if the core group would rather have that submitted as a FAQ, and we can tackle that one tomorrow. Again, we kind of don't prefer to answer clinical type questions, live on the phone like this, because it doesn't allow us to have a full discussion with everyone in the core group and with the surgeon leader. So we just prefer to have those questions submitted via the clinical question form, just again, so we can have that opportunity to make sure to just fully discuss and make sure we're all on the same page on how we want to answer and how that question is answered, and then put it in. Okay, yeah, all right, Mindy. So if you did submit it, then it should be in the list of the questions that I sent to the group. So, so yes, so we'll get that response for you. Thank you, Mindy. And Kurt has a question. Has there been efforts to align specifications and definitions where variables are consistent with ACSD or CHSD, such as lab values, ICU days versus hours? Go ahead, Carol.
I can take that one. So we did try our best to align where it made sense between all of the databases, and we're doing the same as we go through the congenital upgrade as well, and also with Intermax, PDMax registry, and not specific for GTSD, but for ACSD with the TVT and Cath PCI registry. So we tried to align where it made sense for the registries to do that. We did, I believe, where we needed to go out to 2 decimal points or out to the hundredths, we did work on that for the specifications for general thoracic as well. So it should all, that should all be working properly for this version. We tell the vendors when we specify it only out to the tenths for some of the high and low values, that actually includes values which are in between those two values, which could go out to the hundredths or thousandths. So, but when we write the specifications, it isn't very clear that is what our intent was. So we did try our best to specify out to the hundredths where it made sense. Same thing with the definitions and the low and high values for some of the fields. We worked with Dr. Wormuth. I'm not sure if he's on this call or not, but Dr. Wormuth has been on the upgrades for adult cardiac and general thoracic, and now for congenital. So he was aware of our intent to align between the databases. So he was a big part of that as well.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Carol.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, I'm not seeing any additional questions. And of course, IQVIA is here. So if you have any questions related to your, the data quality report, the MBR, any dashboard question or dashboard functionality related questions, again, please feel free to put those in the Q&A or raise your hand. We're happy to answer your questions. Let's see here. Here's a question from Kelly. So if COVID patients are removed, then what will happen with the number of surgeries performed sections?
The number will go down.
Yeah, I don't know.
Your denominator will go down. When we looked at the number of COVID patients that were coded yes throughout the registries, I think that the GTS registry in the first harvest, we looked at this, it was only about 0.4%. There was just a few hundred cases. 0.4% of all the cases that were submitted were coded as COVID positive patients. So it's a very small number. Some sites will probably be more impacted and have a larger amount excluded, but it shouldn't be a overwhelmingly high number. You wouldn't want those patients included anyway, because they're going to likely have worse outcomes. So that's why we just excluded them from everybody.
Thank you. It looks like Claudette has a IQVIA question. But if you haven't already submitted a ticket, Claudette, which I'm pretty sure you probably have, but I don't know if anyone from IQVIA may have any quick troubleshooting tips for her while we're on the line.
Claudette, are you, when you get that error, are you getting that when you try to look at a report, or when you try to upload, or just when you try to log in? If you could maybe add that info, that would give us a better opportunity to try and help you with this particular situation.
Yeah. And if you have your audio enabled, Claudette, you can feel free to raise your hand and we can just unmute you so you can just respond directly to Jeanette, if that's helpful. All right. I'm not seeing any other questions. And let's see, from Susan, if any COVID patients are excluded and not counted, is there any reason to include them in the database? So I know isn't STS going to be doing a
Yeah.
clinical analysis, Carol?
Yep, I can take that one. Yes, we want all of your patients, all of your analyzed cases need to still be submitted in the database. If the patient was COVID positive at any time frame that you code yes for that question, they'll be excluded from analysis, but we're doing separate and they'll be excluded from the overall analysis, meaning they won't impact your outcomes or impact your star ratings, but we're doing separate analysis on those patients and we'll be providing feedback to you on those patients.
Great, thank you. Oh, Claudette responded, Jeanette. She's getting it when she's just trying to log in.
That is odd. This is Jeanette. I've been working on this product, this platform for as long as it's existed, and I've never heard of that error. So you might want to try in another browser, but if you've not already reached out to the IQVIA team and could share a screenshot of the error that you're seeing, that'll help us dig into that further. You can definitely have an exclamation point in your password. So thank you for sharing that detail, but that would not be a problem.
Okay, thank you, Jeanette. I'm okay, just gonna wait a minute. Does anyone else have anything that they wanted to add while we're waiting to see if another question or two pops in? Anything I may have missed? Anyone from the IQVIA side or STS side? Just a friendly reminder, if there are any new, excuse me, goodness. If there are any new data managers, we encourage you to sign up for the STS Mentor mentorship program. That is an excellent program that is available to you. You would just go out on the STS website. If Addie or Carol could put the link in the chat box to the STS, a link to the mentorship program, where you can just go and sign up and you'll be assigned with a mentor that has several years of experience. That'll be an invaluable resource for you as you're getting started. So again, we do encourage you to check out the Mentor Mentee program. If you have been doing this for a long time and you are not signed up to be a mentor, again, we encourage you to sign up to help out our new data managers, as this can be very overwhelming. And Nicole also commented, Jeanette, that she's also getting an error message. She's going to call tech support after the call.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you for letting us know.
Thanks, Nicole. Thanks, Claudette. All right. Let's see here. I don't have any additional information to share today. Let's see here. Again, just a reminder, our upgrade webinar is on the 24th at 2:30. Kelly had a question. Will the new version have the same major complications? Kelly, the new version, the data collection form is out on the website, so you can take a look to see what is to be included. There are some changes to the complication section that do involve grading. And once we get to that section on the upgrade webinars, we will have probably Dr. Kozauer, Dr. Fernandez, Dr. Wormuth. We will have surgeon leaders on that call to answer your questions for that. Risk adjustment complications. There aren't anything new being added to the risk adjustment in terms of complications. Same complications that were involved in risk adjustment currently, but nothing new in terms of risk complications in regards to risk adjustment. Let's see here. You're welcome. Let's see. That's all that I have. And Carol did put the link to the data manager education page and mentor program into the chat box. So thank you, Carol, for putting that in there. Alrighty, I've got about 5 after. Don't want to monopolize your time. I just want to be respectful. So if I'm not seeing any additional questions or concerns come in, I just want to thank you all for joining us today. Again, just be sure to mark your calendar for the next upgrade webinar on the 24th, and then our next monthly webinar for March the 7th. So with that, thank you everyone for joining today. Thanks STS and IQVIA and core group members for joining. I appreciate it.
Yep, great job, Leanne. Thanks, everybody.
Have a great day, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.